Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Trying this again. Just let me know in stream if you can actually hear me before I start reading again. Yay! Okay, I can be heard. This is great. One technical issue solved. So I had this really great setup. I had my iPad connected to the stream. Hello. And I was going to be able to like stream directly from my iPad to show you my journal, so I could also show my tarot cards and had this whole great setup. And then I uh, attempted to just press stream again this morning, and audio didn't work, journaling didn't work, so I've had to sort of reset up everything. Anyway, thank you for joining me this morning. For anyone who is watching this later or is joining now and have no idea who I am Kat Kruger. I'm usually the Dungeon Master here at D20 Dames. For the next month or so, we are doing Downtime with the Dames, which means different things for different dames. Last week, I crafted a little fox friend from a little pre-made children's kit. It was really adorable. But I've been downloading a whole bunch of solo journal RPGs, and I've been thinking of playing them. And I figured I would stream it because I have so many of them now, and I've never done it before. So you'll probably be learning with me if you haven't done this either. Um, the one that I'm doing is I'm going to pull up the link so that I can share it. So, this game is called Untitled Moth Game, and it is by Kaiya J. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. I found this because I think it was Cage recommended another solo RPG by this designer, and I had been looking at that, and then I sort of like flipped around and saw that this one was one of theirs, and it looks really interesting. It uses tarot cards or a tarot deck. It has tokens. It even has a coin as a D2. So I thought it was just an interesting thing. Um, so I am going to start, and we'll see how far we get here. Happy Monday, everyone. Although I suppose that if you're in Australia, it might not be Monday anymore. Okay. Oh, I also wanted to show you my deck because another reason why I picked this game is because it's Untitled Moth Game, and I have this tarot deck, and I'm gonna hold it up here. It's called the Forager's Daughter Tarot, and I thought it would be perfect for this game because it has a moth on it, and these are beautiful cards. Okay, so here we go with the intro. Once upon a time, there was a maiden who dwelt with her true love in a little cottage just outside a sleepy village, in the shadow of an imposing castle upon a cliff, until the tyrant within the castle, seeing their happiness, spitefully placed a curse upon them both. The maiden was ensorcelled to become a small, fluttering moth under the light of the moon, returning to her true form only at dawn. And her true love spirit was torn out and whisked away, a spectre held captive in the castle upon the high cliff. But the moth maiden was clever and determined, and vowed to seek help and regain her love. It is a lovely evening in the village, and you are a beautiful moth. All right. So I don't have a color printer, but this is some of the art that's in it. So I have been ensorcelled. I am a little moth, and the instructions here have listed out that in order to play the game, you need a Taroka deck, a set of polyhedral dice, a coin to be used as a D2, glass beads or tokens to represent moonlight, a figurine to mark your position on the card map. I forgot that, so I will put, I have a cute little, of course, I have a cute little unicorn that Jess from the Dames got me, so I'll use that. A large flat surface to play on, a notebook, that's my journal, and a candle, which is optional. I forgot about the candle. Let me see if I have, I think I have an app for that. Do I? Yes, I do. Okay. So when we're using the Taroka deck, well, I have a tarot deck, so I need to remove some of the cards, which I already did. And it says here that you basically need to remove some of the cards. So I'm using there's a set, the low deck, basically taking out everything from over 10. And for the high deck, there were just specific cards that needed to be used to represent certain things in the game. Okay, next. Forms and skills. During the game, you will be switching between two forms, moth form at night and maiden form during the day. Each of these forms has a different set of skills available to it. Your skills in moth form are flutter, the ability to draw attention either to yourself or to some part of the environment, flee, the ability to escape danger safely, find, the ability to search for hidden details or useful items, and then your skills in maiden form are spook, the ability to frighten someone, sway, the ability to persuade someone to your point of view, and sneak, the ability to pass unnoticed. All right, so I am supposed to assign a D10, D8, and D6 to 3 skills that I think are I'm particularly good at. And then the remainder of my skills start at D4. All right. Flutter, flee, find, spook, sway, sneak. I think find is probably something that's going to be very important. So I'm going to put my D10 there. Now I think because I'm probably going to be in moth form a lot early on, I want to make sure that 2 of my top skills are moth. And then for maiden, I'll give that a D6. So D6, I'm going to put sway. And then my D8. Do I want to be able to flee, or do I want to be able to flutter and draw attention to things? Maybe flee. D8. maybe, actually I'll do D6 for flee and D8 for sway. Okay. Everything else is a D4. Okay. I need to... Okay. Write down these skills ratings. There's a rare opportunity to increase one of them during gameplay, but by default, each of these dice will represent the maximum proficiency you have within a given skill. Okay. Okay. Now we're going into the overview. Okay, so the game is played by placing cards face down in a card map, then moving your figurine from card to reveal the cards and explore their associated prompts. You may move in single steps from one card to any immediately adjacent card, no diagonals. If the card to which you move your figurine is face down, illuminate that card by turning it face up and following the associated prompt. These prompts and your goals may change based on what location and which form you are currently in. In the village, you are gathering important resources. Moonlight, which is represented by tokens, and I've got these really nice, they're like gems. I took these from one of my kids' games called Glitter Luck Unicorn. And memories represented by cards that you will turn sideways. You will need to track and use both resources wisely along your journey. In the castle, you are exploring the labyrinthine castle, attempting to dodge hazards and trying not to break any promises associated with the memories. Okay, each high deck card has a special effect that always remains the same regardless of your form or location. Simply follow the associated instructions to illuminate the card. Some of the high deck cards are items, which you can take with you on your journey. Items start with a die rating, which decreases after each use, similar to skill ratings. Okay. That's pretty cool. I can see where the journal really comes in handy here because you have to keep track of all this. Once the item is used at a D4 rating and is reduced to a D2, the item will break and can no longer be used. All right, each low deck card represents a challenge that you will need to face, and the face value of the card or difficulty score represents how difficult each encounter is. Masters count as 10. Oof, okay. That is a type of card, and that's associated with the 10 in the deck. Fortunately, you have different skills at your disposal to meet them. Choose one of the skills you can access in your current form and roll the associated die to try to overcome the challenge. Meeting or exceeding the difficulty score counts as a success. Rolling below the difficulty score counts as a failure. Whether you succeed or fail, the card will count as being illuminated. Facing challenges is tiring. Every time you use a skill, reduce the rating of that skill by 1 die step. Skills cannot go lower than a D2. You can reset all of your skills to their original skill by transforming from one form to another, but transformation has its own costs. This is where the tokens actually come in. So while in the village, each transformation from moth to maiden costs 1 moonlight. Transforming from maiden to moth form can be done for free. While in the castle, each transformation costs 1 moonlight, regardless of whether you are transforming from moth to maiden or maiden to moth. Transformation is a brief moment outside time, a moment of tranquility and reflection. You may only transform after you have illuminated the card you are currently on, and before you move on to the next card on the card map. Every time you transform, write a journal entry summarizing your experiences so far. Alright, so now we get into the game setup. Alright, so I have my deck here that I have already reduced so that it represents a Taroka deck rather than a tarot deck. I need to remove the Dark Lord, the Ghost, the Innocent, and Mists from the deck and set them aside. Okay, then I am going to shuffle the remaining 50 cards and divide them into 2 mini decks of 25 cards each. Okay. I have to do a really good job of shuffling this because they're all currently in order. Usually I pile shuffle because, well, these are beautiful cards too. I don't want to, like, even if I could bridge shuffle, I wouldn't do it with these cards. All right. Let's try to. And this is the part where, you know, I have my webcam, which is on me right now. I have an HD cam, which last week I used for crafting. And then I have my iPad for the journal. And what I was going to do was I was going to have my HD cam pointed at the cards and just have my journal connected by Bluetooth, but that didn't work out this morning, and I'm not really sure how to fix that. Okay. So I'm going to divide this up into 2 decks of 25. Okay. So 1 deck here and 1 deck here. I'm just going to double check to make sure I counted these correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay. So I have my 2 decks here. The Innocent card. Oh, hold on. Choose one of the mini decks to be your village deck. Okay. And shuffle the Miss card into it. Alright, I have to double check what the Miss card is. The handy thing is that the person who designed this gave a list of, or a table of what each card actually represents. And if I can find that part of the setup, that would be handy. All right, the miss card is death. So that goes in my village card. And then the Dark Lord and Ghost cards go into the other deck. Dark Lord is the Tower, and Ghost is Lovers, Tower and Lovers. All right. All right, so I'm going to be using these for the village phase and the castle phase, respectively. And the innocent card represents your first memory. So I'm going to set aside my castle deck over to the side here. Okay. Okay. So this is where we actually get started on some of the journal writing. And then I think I need to lay out the village card map after. Okay. So the innocent card represents your first memory. So it is this card here. The Fool represents the innocent card. Begin by writing in your journal your first memory based on these words. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna switch cameras here. All right. So this would have been much more elegant with my iPad connected, but c'est la vie, right? Let me turn on my other light. Here we go. All right. So, all right. Once upon a time, I'll read this after I write it out. All right. So it reads, once upon a time, I lived happily with my love until the tyrant cursed and separated us. Okay. All right. So I am the moth, and I know that I've been cursed with my love, and this is where I light the candle. Okay, so I have an app with a candle. Here we go. this over on the side here. All right, now we enter the village. Okay, this phase ends when I uncover the miss card. And the miss card, again, I need to remind myself what card that is. The miss is the death card. Ooh, okay. All right. I think I am now going to move my camera so that you could possibly see the grid here. All right, I'm going to change my camera. Hopefully this looks okay. All right, so there's a very specific way that I'm to lay this out. Okay. At first, I place my figurine on the innocent card, and this is where my story begins in moth form. Hi, Gage. No, you did not. Yeah, I had just a little bit of technical issues this morning, so my setup is not as elegant as I'd hoped it was going to be. All right, so I have my little figurine set up over here. Yeah, I love the backs of these tarot too. They're part of the Forager's Daughter tarot. I'll show you this. I thought it was going to be perfect with Untitled Moth Game. All right, so I think the instructions earlier on said that I can't move diagonally, and I have to resolve each card as I eliminate them and collect moonlight so that I can transform. All right, illuminating cards while you are in moth form represents flying around the nooks and crannies of the village, hidden places and dangerous places, seeking motes of moonlight that will help refuel your transformations. The wide world can be dangerous for a tiny moth alone within it. When you illuminate low deck cards, consider what kinds of challenges they represent. All right. Well, let's just dive in, and I'm gonna I guess I'll head straight up. Okay, I have found the Ace of Cups. Let's see what that means. Okay. Cups is glyphs in a Taroka deck. Okay, so Ace of Cups is equivalent to one of glyphs. All right. Okay, so it says here there lived a hero who faced every day with untouchable serenity. And it looks to be a monk. All right. Now I wonder what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so this is a low deck card, and it's a challenge. Okay. The difference between a tarot and Taroka deck. Let's see. So the tarot deck has the major and minor arcana cards, and the Taroka deck has, I guess it has less cards, and they're also called different things. I can show you over here on the sheet of paper here. So it's really cool that the designer here actually split it up into 3 different types, because if you don't happen to have a Taroka deck, but you have playing cards or tarot cards, you could still play. You just have to remove some of the cards, but I'll show you here. So it's showing the different breakdown here of the cards that you actually need. All right, so going back to the instructions here. Each low deck card represents a challenge that you will need to face, and the face value of the card or difficulty score represents how difficult each encounter is. Okay, so this is an Ace of Cups, which means it is a difficulty of 1. Which means I just have to look at my skills and figure out what skill I would like to use to overcome this challenge here. So I need to pull up my character sheet again. Okay, so as a moth, I can flutter to draw the attention, flee to escape, or find the ability to search for hidden details or useful items. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is, because it's only oh, I remember a useful thing though. So something that I have to remember is that every time I use a skill, it reduces the skill. So if I use my D4 skill, it breaks, like I can't use it after, because it, because I exhausted, I think. A skill can go, skills cannot go lower than a D2. So I can, if I use Flutter as my D4 skill, it will bring it down to a D2, and then I will only be able to flutter one more time. I think I'm going to do it anyway. Story-wise, I feel like the monk has an important thing to tell in the story. All right, so I'm going to roll my D4. I got a 3. Okay, so I picture my moth fluttering around the village for the first time in a very long time, and I see a monk meditating. And there's something very familiar about the monk. I think maybe as like a spiritual presence in the village. The monk may have assisted others at some point, from the tyranny of this dark lord that lives in the castle. Okay, so I'm going to note that I use my flutter ability. And it's now D2. What do I get out of this interaction with the monk? I think I need to make a promise. Okay, So I have one moonlight token from a positive interaction with the monk. I think I will flutter around the monk. Um, I'm going to flutter around the monk and land on a gravestone and sort of interact in that way to catch the attention of the monk. All right, so I'm going to write in my journal. I will read this after. Okay, here we go. So what I've written in my journal is: a familiar figure meditated in the temple garden. With a flutter, I landed on his hands to catch his attention. His eyes opened, and with a kindness I recalled from better times. Moving to the graveyard, I led him to my true love's plot, where he nodded somberly. Bring me my staff from the Dark Lord, and I may break your curse. Okay, so I made a promise, and I have to remember this promise when I get to the castle phase. I also have some moonlight, which allows me to transform into the maiden, but I have to do it before I actually move to the next card if I want to do it at all. What do we think, chat? Should I transform or should I flutter around like a butterfly for a little bit longer? I think I might save it because I still have most of my skills at their max except for flutter. I also have find and flee that are pretty high. So I'm going to move to the next card. Let's go see. All right, I found 7 of Cups. That is also the glyphs. Hopefully I shuffled this great. Okay, so 7 means the challenge rating is a 7, which is going to be much more difficult. All right, here we go. So 7 of glyphs, or the charlatan. A handsome youth in a colorful cloak traveled to the capital city, peddling a miracle potion that they claimed would restore the drinker's youth. Okay, so the only skill I have that could potentially assist me here would be find. It's my D10 skill, and it's the ability to search for hidden details or useful items. So I think this moth. I should have transformed Andy Pants, but I did not. So what? Actually, I think it might be good that I didn't because D10 is my highest score. So I'm going to attempt to find. So I'm going to roll a D10 in order to find something valuable. Ha! I got a 10! Yay me! Okay, so I'm going to write down that my next skill, I used a D10. Oops. So for my find ability, oh gosh, find is now a D8. So I imagine my little moth sees this this fancy young man dressed in all these colorful clothes, trying to hawk these miracle potions, and seems really suspect to my little moth. And I flutter around as he's trying to sell these things to some of the innocent villagers that I know, and I think I I think with my tiny little moth hands, um, I pick out I pick out a label um, from his uh, from his trunk, I guess, where he's selling these wares from, and the label um, is just for some sort of harmless, like maybe not harmless. I don't know. Yeah, harmless juice. And I pick it up with my little moth hands and um, fly up, and the villagers know him to be a charlatan. Then I'm gonna get another token, and then I'm gonna write in my journal. And I'll read it after I finish writing. What does the charlatan want? What can I promise the charlatan? All right, right, I'm going to read back and then maybe I can get some input from chat here. All right, so I have the bright colors of the youth attracted me at first, along with a few villagers. However, the gaudy outfit and overconfident words belied a more seedy intent. Flying down to the trunk of wares he was selling, I spied a label for juice and lifted it up for all to see. Outed as a charlatan, he fled. I found him later, weeping. I need to make a promise to the charlatan. Try to figure out why this charlatan would have been selling fake tonic. I think it must be tied to the tyrant. Ah, I think I've got it. I keep miswriting. It's okay. Here we go. So, what I have now is so outed as a charlatan, he fled. Yes, Andy Pants, you read my mind. Outed as a charlatan, he fled. I found him later weeping. And he says, I once had a thriving business selling real medicinals, but the tyrant cursed my lands. Bring me ingredients, and I will make you a potion of your choosing. All right. So now I have 2 moonlight. Should I transform? I should transform, right? Probably. If I transform into a maiden, just as a reminder, I do have to use one of my moonlight tokens, but transforming back in the village is free, so I can transform into a moth at any point. All right, I have transformed. I think I'm gonna put this back. I need to write a journal a journal entry when I transform. Okay, so what I have here is the plight of the herbalist turned charlatan was familiar to my own. With sorrow, I transformed into my true form to console him. All right, I'm going to switch cameras again because I'm going to move on to the next part of the village. Let's go up one. All right, we have 3 of swords. Let's see what 3 of swords is. 3 of swords is the soldier. A great war brewed on the horizon, and all the people of the land prepared to endure great hardship. I feel like this soldier is probably an agent of the tyrant. He's probably going around the village trying to get more from the farmers, more grain to contribute to this war, and probably asking for more than is needed or is available, and it would cause a great hardship on this village. And I think what I will do then is use my sway as the maiden, and it's the ability to persuade someone to your point of view, and try to convince this soldier that the tyrant is asking for too much and the war is asking for too much. All right, so that's a D8. I got a 7. All right, so do I get moonlight as a maiden? Oh, maiden is slightly different actually. I think I mixed up moth and maiden. I didn't have to make promises as a moth. Well, I made secret promises as a moth. Illuminating cards while you are in maiden form represents gathering memories that will fill in the history of the land and guide your exploration of the castle. The village is full of peculiar folks with their own odd stories. Many of them have some kind of scar, some heavy stone in their heart from an encounter with the tyrant or the castle. Not all of them are willing to open up to a stranger about it. When you illuminate low deck cards, consider what kinds of challenges stand in your way. You may also wish to take inspiration from the specific name or meaning of the card you have revealed. Well, it's the 3 of swords, and it is a soldier. When you succeed on a challenge in maiden form in the village, turn the card sideways 90 degrees to the rest of the cards to mark that you successfully gained a memory. Then copy down the card's once upon a time prompt into your journal and elaborate on the story with a few sentences. You may change the provided pronouns. Do not bring the story to a full conclusion. Then come up with a promise that you were asked to make or decide to make because of the story. All right. So in this case, I do have to make a promise to the soldier. So the maiden sees this soldier. I feel like maybe this is a young soldier that she's known. What would the promise be to him? Oh, another thing I need to note is that because I transformed, I reset all my moth skills, so they're back up to the top. Alright, so moth is fluttering around. No, not moth. The maiden has just had this moment with the herbalist and walks into another part of the village and sees this young soldier sort of feels like shaking down villagers for wheat and crops. And I think she sort of kindly puts a hand on his shoulder. And she remembers him maybe as a young boy running through the fields. And I think she'll have a conversation with him about that and what became of him. And I think he's working for the Dark Lord because he's going to take over his family's farm if he doesn't otherwise. And what's the promise then? Seems like too big of a promise. Maybe the tyrant took something of value. The only thing of value that this family had. And the maiden promises to get it back from the castle. What is that something, though? Magic item? Something to do with farming? I don't know. feel like maybe it's oh, maybe it's a magic sickle that um yields more crop. And in the castle garden, um, it's being used there. All right, I'm going to write more. Okay, here we go. Okay, a young soldier yelled at some of the villagers, poor farmers who feared the presence of any representative of the tyrant. But I knew him once to be a kind child. A war was brewing on the border, and the tyrant demanded rations for his soldiers. What became of the boy who ran carefree in these fields? I asked. He told me of the tyrant taking a magical scythe from his family. If I could get it back, the whole village would not starve this winter. Okay. Alright, so I have made a promise to get this magical scythe. The other promises were just moss promises. Alright, I think I have time to do one more location in the village. I think I'm gonna stay in moth form or switch. All of my moth abilities are maxed again, and my maiden abilities are getting on the low side. I've got 2d4s and 1d6. So I think I might just switch to moth form again. Flutter off. Oh, I need to turn the 3 of swords on its side because that represents a memory now. Alright, where am I going to go next? Let's go up one, I think. Alright, we are at the 7 of Wands. And in a Taroka deck, wands are stars. Glad I switched because I would not be able to beat a 7 as a maiden. Okay, 7 of stars, illusionists. 7 sages met in secret to discuss what they should do to guide the fate of the world. Interesting. Okay, so I think as a moth, I'm wandering around and sort of fly into this little dark area where I see these 7 sages maybe gathered in the town square. What are they doing there? Which is supposed to be a quiet place. Let me change that. I think I'm going to flutter around and just on the edge of the woods maybe, and find these 7 sages. And I think as a moth, I hear them whispering secrets about the tyrant. Interesting. I think I was writing journal entries for the moth, but I don't know if I was necessarily supposed to. I do think I want to find something though. I'm gonna roll a d10 to try and find something that these sages might have to, I don't know, give more information about the castle. Well, I guess I don't necessarily. When you succeed on a challenge in moth form in the village, you manage to capture some of the moonlight in these forgotten quiet places onto your wings, saving it for future use. When you fail a challenge in moth form, you don't manage to capture any moonlight, but what secrets do you discover in the darkness instead? Alright, let's just roll a d10. Okay, I got a 7, and that meets the 7 of wands, so that means I succeeded and got a moonlight token. Oh, I like this idea, Jane. Flutter close. Well, I secret entrance to the castle. That's a good one too. All right, I think I'm going to combine these um these suggestions here, and I think my little moth um is looking and looking and looking and sees that they have a map laid out, and they're talking about the tyrant. And yes, I think the moth spots a secret way into the castle. Um, Something easy for a moth to get into, and then transform into a maiden if needed. It looks like an entrance that isn't well used, so there's probably not a lot of security in that area. All right, so I guess I don't actually need to journal that. I only need to journal if I transform again. I do think I am going to transform back into a maiden, because I want to unlock some more memories in the village. So that resets me again. I'm going to note this in my journal though. I'm almost out of time here. I'm going to transform from moth. Oh, I transformed from to moth, and I didn't write in my journal, but I will transform back to maiden now. I think in this moment, I think maiden is thinking about, trying to access more memories of her life as a maiden. So in my journal, I have, as I transform from moth to maiden, I've written, I wish to recall more of my life. The life of a moth has begun to muddle my memories. Andy Vance, I will uh, put these journal entries up. Probably need to transcribe them because my handwriting right now is very messy. Maybe it's a good thing that my iPad didn't connect. All right, I think I will attempt to do one more card here as I travel from one area of the village to the next as a maiden. Maybe not actually able to write the journal on stream, but we'll see. All right. Where do I want to go? Let's go to the middle. I have 8 of Pentacles here, but I think I might have. Did I mess up somehow? Pentacles aren't supposed to be here. Hmm. Oh no, stream. I think I included Pentacles that aren't supposed to be in here. What are the other cards then? One moment. So I have Wands, Swords, Pentacles. Cups. Oh, I see. My deck has pentacles, not coins. Alright, so this is the Seven of Coins. Thank you for saying that my handwriting looked neat and tidy. It got progressively worse. So after I stopped streaming my handwriting, it was just like, oh, nobody's gonna see this, so only I need to read it. Seven of Cups. I think I'll just read the prompt. Seven of Coins, sorry. All right. Seven of Coins, thief. There lived a friendless orphan who had to resort to stealing for their daily bread. This one I think really ties in neatly with what's going on with the tyrant. Kind of asking too much of the villagers, causing too much hardship on the village, and this is a direct result of what's going on in the village. And I think I will write that journal entry separately, and then post it somewhere. I'll at least get it on Discord. If not on, I'll try to find a format that I can put in the on Twitter maybe. Um, but yeah, so I will write about this friendless orphan trying to steal for their daily bread and post some of my journal entries. And then next week at the same time, hopefully my journal works a little bit better online. The setup worked okay. My other setup would have been better. But I just want to thank all of you for joining, and I really appreciate um, some of the help in chat, some of the feedback. That was very helpful. I'm going to try to reorganize my deck here so that I can remember where all the cards are for the next stream. This is probably going to actually take a few more sessions. I thought maybe it would only take one or two, and maybe because I wrote journal entries for a moth, which actually maybe doesn't make any sense, and made promises from a moth, which I didn't need to do. Um, yeah. Um, so I might actually edit some of that. I might not put the promises in there. Um, anyway, thank you so much for joining. For anybody who is not familiar with D20 Dames, this is not our usual thing. We're doing mostly crafting, but I decided to do some solo RPGs, and I really appreciate you joining us for downtime with the Dames. All right, until next time, misadventure awaits.